President Obama facing stiff criticism on his jobs record, this time from some of his most reliable supporters. The question becomes, can he actually do anything about jobs? In our fourth story in the countdown, speakers at a Congressional Black Caucus event last night had some harsh words for the president, with Representative Maxine Waters saying he's not doing enough to get job opportunities for African Americans, and pointing out he did not stop in a single minority community on his Midwestern bus tour this week. Meanwhile, on the last day of that tour, the president announcing today he will roll out a new jobs plan, but not till next month. First to Detroit and the Congressional Black Caucus event, part of its For the People Jobs tour. Black unemployment is now close to 16%, nearly double the official national average. Congresswoman Waters excoriated the president for not doing more about that.
We're supportive of the president, but we get tired, Joe. We get tired. And so what we want to do is we want to give the president every opportunity to show what he can do and what he's prepared to lead on. We want to give him every opportunity. But our people are hurting. The unemployment is unconscionable. We don't know what the strategy is.
She's not the only one who feels that way. The president, now facing the lowest economic approval rating of his presidency, just 26%, thinking he's doing a good job on the economy. He announced today the plan to ease unemployment will be coming, but unemployed Americans will have to wait a little longer to hear details. He plans to unveil his new agenda in a speech just after Labor Day. He hinted at what it might look like. More infrastructure spending, he called for that today, an extension of the payroll tax holiday, and placing the blame for the faltering economy squarely on a broken political system.
The only thing holding us back is our politics. It's traditionally a bipartisan idea. There's no reason why we shouldn't pass it. There's no reason why we shouldn't put Americans back to work all across the country, rebuilding America.
As for that bipartisan solution, Senate Minority Leader McConnell's comments today do not bode well. He told constituents in Kentucky that he does support the president's push for several trade agreements. As for the rest of his economic policies, they should all be reversed, saying the first solution is that Washington needs to quit doing what it's been doing under this administration, quit borrowing, quit spending, quit trying to raise taxes, quit over-regulating. This is a recording. Let's bring in economist Robert Kuttner, co-founder of the American Prospect and author of Obama's Challenge, America's Economic Crisis and the Power of a Transformative Presidency. Thanks for more of your time tonight, Mr. Kuttner.
Always a pleasure.
What can a president do, assuming no assistance from Congress to create jobs, other than, hiring people using the money he has in his own wallet?
President can make clear the difference between him and the delusional Republican Party instead of blaming Congress. It's not Congress that's at fault. It's the Republican obstructionists in Congress. And the president can lay out a program to put Americans back to work and then dare the Republicans to vote it down. That's what Harry Truman did when he had Republicans in both houses. He called Congress back so he could send up good legislation that the Republicans would vote down and then run against them. But this president seems determined to excoriate Congress as an institution rather than Republicans, and to call for bipartisanship when there's no bipartisanship to be had.
This would seem to be an impossible to solve problem then, because as you point out, it would seem that he's impotent, as just not for him, but a president can't simply by any kind of presidential decree create new jobs, except perhaps on his own campaign for re-election. On the other hand, if you do not add a political component to a proposal that the other side has no motivation for passing, you're not going to get it passed, and you're not going to get your people elected to get it passed in a year's time. Is that about the size of it?
Well, except that if you put forward a program that's a credible program to put people back to work, then you can get a working majority back in Congress, and you can get yourself reelected with some coattails. But if all you're selling is austerity and a green eye shade mentality of asking people to tighten their belts when we're already having a recession, not only are you not going to create jobs, but you're not going to get reelected. So, I mean, there are a few things he can do. For example, the government spends hundreds of billions of dollars a year in contracts, procurement contracts, through the Pentagon, through the highway system, through other government expenditures. You can insist that any contractor who wants to bid for government business be a good employer, not bust unions, not pay minimum wage jobs, not ship jobs overseas. That's what Roosevelt did during the war. You had to be a good employer if you wanted to bid for government contracts. Obama, to his credit, has also put forward a program to take some of the houses that have been repossessed and make them available as rental housing and reoccupy them. So he's not completely without power, but I think right now he's without imagination, and that's more fatal going into an election year.
What's your reaction to hearing infrastructure being addressed as part of this new jobs program when throughout 2009 the left and lots of economists were screaming, hey, what about infrastructure?
Well, it's too bad that he did not put a lot more money into infrastructure when he had a working majority in Congress. Now, because of his obsession with deficit reduction for its own sake, the amount of money that he's probably going to propose in September for infrastructure is not going to be sufficient, and the Republicans are going to ridicule it. A temporary tax holiday for the payroll tax is not a bad idea, but by itself it doesn't add up to a jobs program.
Last question. You said something that suggested this, and I just wanted to check. Do you get the same feeling that I do, that the president's reelection campaign is not against the Republicans but against Congress?
Yeah, and it should be against the Republicans. And what really dismayed me was to hear Perry's opening commercial, where for the first half of it he sounded more like Roosevelt than Obama did. And if the president can't run as someone who wants to put America back to work and leave that opening to someone who has as many holes in what he's selling as Perry does, then I'm not sure he deserves to be reelected. I hope one of these days the people at the White House who are advising him to be Mr. Accountant rather than Mr. President will notice that this is just a losing strategy.
The economist and author Robert Kuttner, a great thanks once again, sir.
Thank you.
In easily the most bizarre presidential field ever, this motley crew of would-be Republican candidates, this may be the most bizarre theory ever about one of them, and yes, yet perhaps it is the most insightful. Janine Garofalo about Herman Cain and whether his candidacy is just a transaction of some sort. Ahead.